Hello, my name is Michele, and you're listening to Profit is a Choice. Joining me on the podcast today are Jenny and Ben Slingerland of Black Ink Interiors. Jenny and Ben are clients of mine who have had tremendous growth over the last year. Today, they're going to share their story of how they began working together in the company, how their business has morphed over the years, and how they have their own area of specialty that really makes it all work. Every day, empowered entrepreneurs are taking ownership of their company financial health and enjoying the rewards of reduced stress and more creativity. With my background as a financial software developer, owner of multiple businesses in the interior design industry, educator, and speaker, I coach women in the interior design industry to increase their profits, regain ownership of their bottom line, and to have fun again in their business. Welcome to Profit is a Choice. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Ben. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Michele. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes. Hi, Michele.
You're welcome. Yeah. I almost said welcome to coaching. It's like my brain got all twisted up there for a minute, even though I told you exactly what we were going to do. So funny.
Well, and because we have a coaching call this afternoon. So
I know, right? So even though we just made the comment about podcasting, it's so easy to say the other. Well, I am so excited to have you on and to chat with both of you today. You are just awesome people and awesome business owners. And I'm just excited for us to be able to explore a little bit about what you've done, where you've been, and what's gotten you to where you are. Also, I'm excited to hear about where you want to go, And so let's start. Jenny, I think you were the one that started the business. Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
I went to my first degree is actually in nursing. I knew I didn't love it when I was in the program, and I just thought I'm just going to power through. And then when I'm done with my nursing degree, I will get an interior design degree because I knew that that's where my passion was. And so I finished the nursing degree. Like I said, I practiced nursing to put myself through school, continued working as a nurse to put my husband through business school. And then once that was all done, it's like, okay, I think it's time to try this now, to actually use my interior design degree. So I worked for a couple of different custom home builders and kind of got to understand the construction side of the business and to really understand that. Ben then had his corporate job, which moved us about every 2 years we were moving. So it wasn't an ideal time to, start up my own business. And so I just enjoyed those years home with my girls, raising them. And then when we finally landed in Arizona, we knew this is where we wanted to stay. And so we said, all right, let's give this a go. So my youngest was in full-time kindergarten. And I said, all right, we're going to put this out there. And we didn't know anyone here in Arizona. So there was a lot of, knocking on doors and cold calling builders and just trying to put myself out there. And I will say it took a minute for the phone to ring, but the hard work and the networking events that I would go to and, meeting with different builders, even, just for 5 minutes, hey, can I have 5 minutes of your time? It paid off. And the phone kind of started ringing and it didn't stop. So I think I really started to hit Black Ink hard, was it Ben 2017?
Yeah. Yep.
And you joined spring of 2018 because it was had gotten to the point of madness, basically, of me sleeping 4 hours a night, trying to do the accounting, trying to do, the social media, trying to do the design work, taking care of all the emails, all the tracking, all the information. And it just was too much. And Ben was at a point in his career that was sort of like, well, if we're going to do it, this is a good time, And so we're like, let's give it a go. And so we did it. And, is that what you recall, Ben? Is that how it went down?
Yeah, that's
like a lot of tears, a lot of frustration,
So I'm curious about this. It really strikes me that, so how did you determine at that point, at the very, very beginning, being new to town, how did you determine which builders you wanted to go knock on their door? And when you knocked on their door and asked for 5 minutes, what did you say?
You know what? That is such a great question. And what I did was I knew I wanted to work with the top, with the best. I wasn't going to start low and work my way up. I was going to try to start at the top. So I literally for days and days and days researched builders, right? So I'd put in luxury custom home builders, and then I started ranking them because I would click on their website. I would look at their projects. I would see if they, seemed in line with mine. I looked at their About Me page. I wanted to see who they are, what they had done, what were their company's core values. And I started ranking them on a 5-star. So if it was 5-star, it was like, I want to meet these people. If it was 4-star, it's like, these are still really good people. And then I didn't even bother if it was under 3, right? So it was like 3, 4, 5. So once I had my list, I would make calls, and I called one and he said, sure, I'll meet with you. So I went in.
What did you say when you asked just, hey, my name's Jenny, I want to meet with you?
Hey, I'm a new interior designer in town. I have a construction background and I'd love to come talk with you. I'm new to the area. And we sat down and he said, I don't have anything right now. He said, but I'll keep you in mind. And I said, can I ask you a question? If I wanted to try to get to know other, builders or other people in the community that are, design related, how can I get a hold of him? He goes, you know what? He goes, Sub-Zero Wolf always has the best parties. He goes, call Sub-Zero Wolf, get on their list for invites and go to their networking events. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. And he told me about an architectural magazine that's put out that you can advertise in. And that has a lot of the higher end architects and designers in it. So I did both those things. I had already registered with ASID to get to know the local design community as well. And within a few months, he called and said, hey, I have some spec projects. He goes, to be honest, I don't know you yet to know if I can put you with these, a $5 million custom home. I don't know how you are with clients. I don't know. He goes, well, let's try with some specs. So we ended up doing 3 spec projects together. I did get on that Sub-Zero Wolf party list. And my goal every time I went was you hand out 5 business cards. And I would walk into this room with hundreds of people literally at these parties. And I was like, all right. And I would just walk up to people, introduce myself. And then the doors just started opening. And I met one person who knew another person who knew another person. And it just came about. But I mean, you have to put the work in, I think, but
you really put yourself out there, no doubt.
Yeah.
I think that's interesting. Just for the listeners, it's something to consider. The same way that you looked up builders, other people are looking us up. So make sure that about page is really what you're about. Make sure that you tell people what's important to you, either through just the regular content of copy or, here are our values. Make sure that the pictures on your site are indicative of the work that you love to do and want to do. I hear a lot, oh, it's so outdated. It's so outdated. I don't even do that anymore. Well, if that's the snapshot that people see of your work and it's so outdated, then they're going to think that's what you can do. So it does take effort to keep those things up because it's the same thing you went looking for, which means it's the same thing other people are going to come looking for.
That's such a good point. I hadn't even thought of it in reverse like that people are doing the same. So you better get out there and get that website. Exactly.
No, it's true. I know I try to. I'm not always as great at it as other times, but I try to twice a year go in and update my website with copy, or if there are new words or new challenges, that people are talking about a lot, or that I see that I'm solving a lot. And so it's just a good point that whatever we go out there looking for, other people are coming out there looking for us the same way. So just something to consider. So, all right. So you start by going out, meeting people, putting yourself out there, networking. That was when we could freely network face to face. And I just hope and pray that comes back quickly. I miss that so much, but still just really looking for ways to get knee deep in your own area and the interior design, architect, build kind of arena. So I think that's super important. All right. And then you said that the doors started opening, the work started coming. I love how you immediately said, let's go to the top. My guess is, Jenny, that your prior work for the other builder before you moved, some of that's what gave you confidence, because most people wouldn't walk out of design school, spend a few years nursing or doing something else, and all of a sudden think, let's go to the top. I mean, I know you're special, But that's not normally what most people think.
Not that special. No, and that is true. They were both luxury custom home builders that I worked with, those two jobs. And so I think you're right. It probably did give me the confidence.
You kind of knew what was expected at that level, because otherwise I think it could be very overwhelming. Kind of like that builder said to you, I don't know that I can hand you a $5 million client because I've not seen you work. So I just don't want anybody out there to think, and look, some people could just come right out of design school and go to the 5 million and top of the homes. But I would say it's not the trajectory that we normally see. There's a lot of work that goes in behind it. And you had already done that work in bits and pieces before you had the courage to say, let's just go do this on my own.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a good point. Yes.
Okay. So the door's open. Work's coming in, you're overwhelmed, you're probably sitting on the floor and in the closet working around the kids. What was the breaking point that you said, I need help? And I'm assuming that's the same pivotal moment that Ben was like, I think I can be your help.
Yeah. Ben, do you want to take that? Because you probably might remember it better. I was probably not in a good place at the time if it was like, we got to do this. But yeah, go ahead.
And Jenny had hired like a contract employee at that time who had been helping a bit as well. So she wasn't completely on her own, but certainly the work as it continued to ramp up and new projects came in, it's hard as you're trying to build these relationships and knock on doors and open up new doors to say no, right? When someone reaches out and says, hey, we're ready for you. And so I think it was one of those situations where we just kept taking work, or, that time Jenny kept taking work and got to a point where she physically couldn't keep up with it. Right. So we made a decision at that point. Like she had said, as I was at a point in my career where I kind of would need to make decisions on what I wanted to do for the future. And we just said, why not? And the goal being primarily to help Jenny, relieve Jenny of the back end kind of processes and, the financials and the HR components of the business, some of the logistics and purchasing, those kind of things to remove that from her plate so that she could focus primarily on the client facing activities and continue the networking and bringing in business and so forth. So I joined in, I think it was April of 2018, to just kind of pick up. And I had been helping her at nights and evenings and whenever I could, and even before that. So I'd already been involved in the business, just, at a smaller scale. So it was just really like, hey, let's just jump in with both feet. We talked about the potential risks of that, right? From a family perspective and financial perspective. And I think at the end, we just said, what's the worst that can happen? That it doesn't work. And I can, have enough experience and skill set where I can go out and get another job, right? If I needed to locally or wherever. So I think that just alleviated some fear to know that like the downside isn't that great. And that the upside was there was a ton of upside. So it was so the rewards, the potential rewards outweighed the risk for sure.
I love the fact that Jenny said that, she was working in nursing to put her through school, you through school, to kind of support the family a little bit while you were taking time to focus. But it's so cool that now all of that energy that you both put into attaining that business degree is now benefiting both of you back in this business.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's really cool. So, Ben, what was it like leaving corporate and coming to work for, I'm going to say in air quotes, your wife? Because I know you guys work differently. I know you do different things, but there's still that she started this whole thing and now I'm coming in to work in a business that she has kickstarted.
Sure. I'm Jenny's biggest fan. So when,
and I love that.
From that perspective, right, it was just a cool opportunity. And, I get people that do ask that question, right? Like, yes, there are elements of, sort of the corporate life and corporate world that I miss for sure. But at the same time, there are a lot of things that I don't miss. So the way I look at it is this basically going to work for Jenny, and essentially we have a family business, right? And Jenny is the boss and 100%. So I do look at it that way as well. And obviously, we work together all the time, probably too much, but our kids tell us anyway. But I think the idea of being able to be in total control of your life, your lifestyle, your schedule, not only for us, Jenny and I, the two of us, but our work schedules, but just for our family. That's probably the biggest motivating factor. And one of the things that excited me the most, to be able to say, hey, let's do this as a family. And then we control our destiny, and we can kind of control our lives and how we schedule things. And And so that's a big motivating factor for us, is to be in total control and not have to, answer to anyone but ourselves.
So when you came in, tell me a little bit about how you, the two of you worked together to separate, this is what Ben's going to do, and this is kind of the areas that you're going to focus on, and here's what Jenny's going to do, and here's where she's going to focus. Was it just clear cut, you go do design and I'll, juggle all the balls back in the office, or did you sit down and have a more clear cut conversation about that?
Well, we sat down and said, here, let's sort of list out all the activities that need to get done, right, in the business. And, through reading and kind of listening to other podcasts, we'd been looking at kind of what types of decisions, business decisions, organizational decisions, processes and procedures, all those things. As we started to list all those activities out, it was like, well, you take these, I got these, right? And it sort of naturally divided at sort of front of house or client experience activities and sort of back of house and operation activities. So it's sort of naturally divided there, which makes sense. Our personalities make sense in that way. Jenny's very much type A networker, very social in that sense. I'm much more behind the scenes, enjoy being able to just kind of work away without all the fanfare and so forth. So it sort of naturally divided that way. And then, of course, we brought other team members on to help fill some of the gaps that we couldn't fill as well.
And over time, I'm assuming, well, I know so because, of course, we coach together, but tell us a little bit about how maybe those roles have morphed over time, where, again, I still think you guys have it divided front of house, back of house, but even some areas that maybe have shifted or where you've created some overlap. Is there anything that's shown up like that for you?
I find that I really lean on Ben for a lot of some of the more difficult client conversations, or, when that has to happen. Ben, how does this email sound? Ben, I have to hop on a call. Can we role play how this call is going to go? Cause I need to be prepared for it. Or, we're just about to hop on a call with a developer that we're working with, and I'm, leaning heavily on him. I'm going to say this, to do this, and it's like, I lean very heavily on him on, I don't ask him, do you like this color or this color? Because he's colorblind, first of all. Second of all, he would never want to be responsible for any decision like that. But if it comes to anything that is this going to benefit the company? Is this going to,
right?
I don't want to offend anybody. Does this come out too harsh? Whatever that looks like, I really lean on Ben because I don't know how to say, he's the middle child of 7. He wants everyone to be kind of happy and okay. And does this work for you? And does this work for you? And let's meet in the middle, peacemaker.
He's very steady. Much more Ben, you're very steady.
That is it. That's the word.
I mean that in a very good way. You also, I've noticed from our conversations together, you're calming. You have a very calm, steady approach, very level-headed. And I've seen Jenny bounce a lot off of you around the business and HR, all of it. And I think, Jenny, wouldn't you agree? It's because he doesn't get overly excited in a negative way, right? He's very calm. He stays kind of level-headed as he thinks through things. And that can be a challenge for a lot of us.
It is absolutely what I have none of that in me at all. No calm, no steady, no peace. I am just opposite end of the spectrum. I can fly off the handle. I'm 0 to 100. There's no in between. It's just all right there. And Ben,
you're like a little whirlwind.
Yes, I'm a Tasmanian devil, and it's just and Ben's like, Jenny, calm down. And I'll be like, don't tell me to calm down. And then later I'll come back and be like, I'm sorry. Did you have something that you wanted to say? I realize I just need that moment to vent or to, yell about something that's happening. I just need that moment. And he knows now. He's like, I'm not sure if she wants me to actually try to help solve the problem or just listen. So he a lot of times will just listen. And then I might just stomp off, and that's it. That is okay. He just wanted a shot. Or he'll be like, okay, do you think that can I show you how maybe they saw that or how they felt when they read that or whatever it is? And I'm like, dang it, you're right. And then, and that's always the case, right?
But I love that. I love that. Yeah. In most of the books that we read, and we've looked at a whole string of books between E-Myth and Traction and all of those books. They all talk about having like the visionary and then having like the person that is like the integrator, the one who's actually making things happen. And I think, not that Ben's not a visionary, but I do think that's a role that you play, Jenny, in the company. You're very much out there and looking, and Ben is like that steady integrator. They're making sure that those ideas are working in the firm. You guys really do work well together. I think he balances you well. Ben, you balance Jenny very well.
Well, yeah. I mean, honestly, we do talk about it because I don't know that it would be a healthy, working situation if we both had a very similar personality, right? Like it'd be tough to work together. So I think just the fact that we have different working styles, different personalities, I think allows us to actually work together effectively, which is nice, right? So because at the same time, we when we finish work, we are together at home, right? So it's we need to make sure that we still can get along and work together 24 hours a day, really.
But that's because of you. Like literally you're a saint, honestly. Like you guys don't.
Let's not go too far.
No, like really to put up with me. I mean,
he does have some saint qualities. I'm going to give
Oh my goodness.
If he had a personality like me, first of all, I wouldn't have dated you, but I think like opposites attract. And, we've been married 24 years now and, in this business together a few years and it's going well, but it's because Ben is able, I think, to talk me off the ledge. And I think before you were to make a jump into a situation of working with your spouse, it would literally be asking yourself if, other than the 6 hours you're sleeping at night, can you stand to be with that person every day and to get feedback when needed, and
the feedback's the hard part. It's not the together, it's the your speaking part, right?
Yeah.
This is the talking back.
Yeah, totally. And Ben gives his feedback and he'll start it with, I don't want you to get upset, but here's some feedback. And then I don't take it usually very well. And then I come back and I apologize and I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. But that's just how we've grown, I think, I'm getting better. I feel like, Ben, please say that I am, so I don't look like the most ridiculous human being, because I feel like I'm sounding like it. But I do feel like I could not be where I am, and this business would not be where it is without Ben, not only because of the value he brings with his MBA and with his human resources background and leadership and all of the things that he has, but also his ability to handle, the family dynamic and be with me for that amount of time. We are just two very different people, wired two very different ways. And he's able to recognize that and appreciate it in me. And he'll even say things like, I would never have had kind of, I don't want to say the guts, but to say, I can do this on my own. We're going to do this, have that entrepreneurial fighting spirit. And yet we are thriving because of him, but it does take another type of person to be able to get that there. Does that make sense? So
it does. It's the balance of the two. And that's exactly why in E-Myth, there's, the CEO and then there's the manager, or there's the entrepreneur and the manager. And then over in Traction, you've got the visionary and the integrator. Everybody knows there's got to be somebody driving hard in front and somebody standing there, like manipulating behind the scenes and making everything work. And I think that is the beauty of what the two of you have created together. So let me ask you this, because I also know over time, the business has shifted a little bit and changed a little bit. I don't know if you remember this, but you guys called me. I want to say it was 2018. You called me.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And said that Ben had just joined your firm, and you were trying to kind of get your arms around everything because the business was growing so quickly. And we had a quick phone call just to talk about it. And you guys weren't quite ready to move forward with coaching at that point. So you put it on hold. And then you came back, what was it, in 2020? And you're like, okay, now we're ready. I know you've also, and you've talked about this before, you've worked with other coaches. How is it that you identify when you're ready to bring in an expert in an area to work with you? How do you know that, okay, we've gone as far as we can go by ourselves, or we've done what we can do, and we can trudge along to figure out the rest, or we can call in an expert? How do you get to that point, and what is it?
Yeah, I think it's just as we just obviously our own observations of the business and things that are going on in areas that maybe we're struggling with, or in some cases, we just don't have the time to put into, or the energy to put into that particular area of focus. And so this has to do with coaching, and also how we, areas where we maybe contract out some work, whether it's AutoCAD or whatever it might be, where we maybe don't have the in-house expertise or skill or the time, energy, or labor to do it, right? So we kind of evaluate those things, and then we try to find, through obviously our network of the podcasts we listen to, books we read, people we work with, other places we try to, take a look at what resources exist out there, do our research, and then see if it's a good fit for us. And then we reach out. And I think what's important to recognize is that, some people are hesitant to invest, right, in a coach or a course or development, but we recognize, in order to grow your business and also grow your own skill set, you have to invest, whether that's through coaching or other opportunities for development. And so that's kind of how we've looked at it.
And Michele, one thing that we do is we look at what the investment is and what do we think the return on that investment is going to be, and can we afford it, and what can this do for our business and to kind of lead and guide us for the rest of our careers, right? And so we look at it really hard at the beginning. And I can honestly say there isn't one coach or a program or something that we may have invested in where we've ever regretted that we made that investment.
I think you made a big point there without it even sounding like a really big point. And this is something that I explain to people that I work with all the time. Sometimes it's easy to look at I'm going to call it the cost of a program, or the cost of an investment, or the cost of a contract, the cost of something, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Instead of looking at it as an investment, we look at it as a cost, just like our clients do. And we have to change the wording up with what we're doing. But we also look at it as the cost of the here and now. So what does it cost for me right now? If you made the comment, Jenny, and we invest in these things because they help for the remainder of our business or the life of our business. And that's what I think is so important. I know some of the things that I teach around financials and hiring and all those things. Those are lessons that if you learn them, it's not just an investment or the ROI within that first year. It's the ROI of every single year after that, where you now know that you have the knowledge, you have the skill set, you have the tools to do something. It is now a return on investment year over year over year over year, because you've learned that idea or that skill, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
And I think sometimes it's easy to be very much about paying for something and thinking it's in the short term, when it's really from that point forward, you now know what to do and how to do it.
That's right. And those are the skills that you take with you, like riding a bike. Once you learn it, you have it and you rely on it, and so yeah. So
how do you all set, let me go back to this. When you first came in to work with Jenny, Ben, how did you guys set up? Did you set financial goals? Did you set just, let's do this to get by? How did you look at it and determine financially that you could, number one, make it work? But number two, did you set a goal for what you needed to bring in to sustain it? Or were you not that cut and dry about it?
No, we didn't. We probably didn't look at it necessarily the lens of what do we need to survive, right? As much as we looked at the business and the opportunities, the growth, the clients that we had started to take on, and started to kind of put some numbers down. Okay, what do we think we can achieve based on, again, the projects that we had and ones that we maybe had working on, and also what do we want to accomplish, right? So there's a combination of what we have today, what's in the pipeline, and then also like what are our ultimate goals, and we would look at that on an annual basis, right? And also we looked at things that we would need to have in place to achieve those goals. So what are some systems, processes, people, training, development, those kind of things that we would need to also execute, marketing and so forth, to help us achieve those goals. And so we've gotten better over time, but initially it was kind of a one-pager, kind of quick, big numbers, and some strategies and tactics, right, to achieve those numbers. But we've certainly refined, and with your help as well, refined our ability to plan for our business as we've gone on and look, forward a year, 2, 3 years out to say, where do we want to be? What do we want to accomplish?
What do you think? What has been the difference to you? Let me ask you this. What has been the difference to you from, let's say, almost a year ago before we started working together, the way you looked at the numbers, the understanding, the possibility, all the things in the company. I know when you came to me, it was because you guys were killing it, right? But it almost was outgrowing you in some ways from just being able to get your arms around it because it was so much so fast, right? How do you think that you looked at your financials and your numbers and possibilities then versus the mindset that you have to look at them now, a year out?
Yeah, I think you just gave us some tools to help us look at things differently, to look at sort of the key performance indicators, to break things down in a way, so analyze the financials in a different way so that we could, take insights from them. And then also to look beyond just a year, right? So I think that's the other thing that you've been great is to say, okay, what's your 3-5 year plan? And, start jotting some thoughts down and we still have, work to do there. But I think it's just looking at things differently. How do we pull insights out of the information that we have to help us improve and to plan for the future?
I think that's great because you know what? I've seen this happen in my own business when I first started. And it's the same kind of thing of the way we think about investing in anything, right? Help, subcontractors, hiring that new employee, whatever it is. You're just trying to get by for the moment, or you're looking very, very short term within this year, within this month, within this quarter. But when we actually get to a point that we understand that we are in many, many ways creating this, kind of like you said, the two of us can go create this, right? Jenny and Ben. And if we don't like it, then we'll go do something else. You both have talked about being able to create the business that you want so that you could also, have the family life you want and do those things. And when we can really start looking ahead, I think that's when we start to kind of feel like we're really driving the business instead of it driving us, because now we're telling it where to go and we understand the resources that are needed to get it there. And it actually creates a framework for decision making from my viewpoint. Does it feel like that for you and Jenny?
Absolutely. I think that's another element I forgot to bring up, but thank you for saying that. It did help us determine things like what's our ideal client? What types of projects do we want to take? What size of projects? How many projects at any given time, right? So it allowed us to evaluate all of those things.
And how much to charge per project, right? Like,
yes,
if this project this much, let's break it down and see if at the end of the day, if this number that you came up with is actually going to cover your time. And sometimes it didn't.
Jenny, don't you remember that one time when you had a really awesome opportunity and you were pricing it one way and you just said, I think this will price it. And I said, okay, let's stress test your pricing. So what we did, let's say, for example, somebody always charges flat rate or they always charge by square foot. We turned it around and really went through what is it going to take to get the job done the way that you want to do it and put your brand and name on it. How many hours is it really going to take? And you were kind of shocked at the fact that you would have undercharged if you had used kind of a method before because of the difficulty. You know what I mean? Sometimes a method works, but it doesn't always work for everything. And I remember that being so eye-opening for you going, oh my goodness, I wish I had thought to, thankfully you hadn't quoted it. So we were good, but just really sitting back and going, there's more than one way to do it. I know I'm asked all the time, how should I price? My answer is whichever way you can make money. Sometimes it's easier to price with a flat rate. Sometimes it's easier by square footage and sometimes it's easier hourly, but it really comes down to knowing what you do. You both said knowing who your client is, how you want to serve them, the level of work that you want to do, and then making sure that you're fairly compensated for that. But I so remember us, you scribbling on a piece of paper. I think I had my remarkable and I was going page after page after page. We were trying to keep up with, oh my gosh, there's an extra bathroom, or I only counted one kitchen, but there's a whole outdoor kitchen and there's a whole kitchen in the basement. Well, wait, now we got 3 kitchens and I just was thinking 1 kitchen, and so just really taking the time to go through all that. I just remember that being such a fun coaching time with you that day.
Yeah. And I learned my lesson. And now every time I will do that, right? It isn't just a quick square foot number and pad it a little bit, or, it's really break it down, really look at the numbers, because, if somebody's building an $8 million house, they can pay to have you do the work, right? And I often find myself in a position, well, oh, is that going to be too high? Is it? But as we get the better clients, I'm less worried because it's like, if they don't want to pay, that's fine. There's a lot of designers that are going to be happy to do it for that price. I was that designer at one point, right? I was the one like literally slaving for pennies on the dollar because I was like, I need this experience. I need to get this. I want this. And I'm not at that point anymore. And I need to be okay with that. Sometimes my mindset is what gets in the way of, well, I don't know if they're going to spend that. Okay, well, hang on. They have $8 million they're willing to invest in this house, and they probably want a good designer, and they want her to feel good about the work she's doing and that she's being adequately paid for it. So I'm not, there's a lot of mindset, I think, with money too, which you've helped with as well. And just even breaking down the goals. Okay, what is your goal this year? What do you want your financial numbers to be? All right, let's look it out. Now we got to take out this salary, your designer salary. We need to take out the rent or whatever it might be. And okay, then with what's left over, this is how much you have to bring in, right? Just even learning how to do that, to know if what we're putting out based on last year's numbers, is it going to still give us that profitability, or do we need to, how can we change what we're doing? Is that charging more? Is it putting a bigger markup on the furniture? How are we going to get to this number?
Right. Or, in a couple of things, we've modified a process where the process wasn't working. We also went through and looked at, as I would say, right butt, right seat. We didn't have all the right butts and all the right seats at different times.
That's right.
And so, because you've shifted your team over the last year, and, and that's just part of growing. That's the thing. It's not about being right or wrong or good or bad. It's just a growth process and constantly looking at, like we said, and it's so funny. We can all say it and it starts to sound cliche, but it is so true. It's knowing who you and Ben are in business and what you're trying to create with your team, and then making sure that you align with the right builders, the right clients, the right vendors, and the right employees and team members and staff to be able to get it done. It's just that alignment that makes it work, along with being paid properly. And that came with us digging into your process on what is it that you really do? What needs to be done? What's missing? How do we build that in? And I think sometimes when we're growing a company and scaling, I know it was true for you and for most people, we get so busy doing the work that we're not analyzing the work and asking ourselves, is this still the right way, best way, smartest way, quickest way, most efficient way? Or is it still good for us to do it like this? We just do it because we've always done it, so that we can just get the work done and get it out the door. I mean, I think that's human nature. It's what we all do. And so taking kind of that time that you and Ben have taken to do kind of that small reset of, okay, let's take that one or two steps back to look at everything so that we can then run further ahead. It's not always easy, but it absolutely pays off.
Yeah. And I think for sure. And also having like, one thing that's important to me is like accountability, because I can have all the best ideas and the best intentions, but having somebody to be accountable for, almost like homework, right? Like something is due on this date, or I want to make sure I'm prepared for our next call. I appreciate that, because if not, it's like you said, you are so busy working in it that you're not going to take the time. Your client will always come first, and you'll put aside, even if it's for the betterment of your company, you'll put aside what you need to do for your company in order to get what you need to the client out. And so it's helpful for me to have somebody to be accountable to. And hey, we have a call coming up with Michelle or with whoever, and we need to make sure we have everything ready for that. And, we said we were going to have this done. Is it done? And so I think that's always very helpful too, because it's the only way I know for me that I can get out of the business and work on it.
So tell me this, what have the two of you worked on, and what are some of your big plans moving forward? What are some of the new goals that you've set or things like that? I mean, I know one of them is you guys just moved back into your home from your space, right?
Yep. And that was a blessing in disguise from COVID, and realizing we can do what we do kind of from anywhere. And I needed to be home with my daughters more. They're 13 and 11. And if I had signed another 3-year lease, my oldest would be, I don't know, junior or senior in high school. And I was like, no, that's not going to happen. It was a 45-minute drive each way. And I was just like, I'm just spending my time that I could be with my family in the car. This is ridiculous. And so that was a big change for us. And I know moving forward, we're wanting to take more vacations and for our family, which has never been a priority in the last few years, and we're making it one. We also are wanting to invest in our staff and, we've been taking them to High Point, and we're looking at maybe, going to some abroad trade shows in Europe. We want this to be successful for us, but we want to make sure that our employees feel valued and that we are, paying them what they need, giving them bonuses at the end of the year based on, how we're doing. But also, this is an industry where creative process, sometimes you just get burned out and you just need to see something new and something fresh. And so we want to make sure that we give them those opportunities so that they're happy.
I'm so excited about that for all of you. And I love the way that that's what I think I love so much is the clients that I work with, those that come to me are kind. And they're also the type of clients that want to take care of their teams. I don't have one coaching client that I have that's like, I want it all for me and forget the team. Every one of them is, we all are working hard. How do we all benefit in this together? And so I think that clearly my ideal client avatar for that is working well because I've got really great people.
That's good.
And that's what they say. But it's true that we're all in this together, especially when you're in it with the team. And you don't want to be up here, having everything great for you and, paying them $10 an hour and having them struggle. Like nobody wants that. And so I love that about the heart that both of you have is making sure that your family's taken care of and making sure your team is taken care of with time and with making sure that you have fair pay and wages and bonuses and all that. And that's one of the things, let's talk about that for a minute, because bonuses and profit sharing, that money doesn't come out of thin air. That money comes out of hard work. That money comes out of pricing your design and products and expertise properly. It comes out of properly managing those funds so that there is a net profit at the end of the year to be able to do that. And so I think that's one of the things that excites me is being able to help companies look at the numbers, get the numbers straight, understand how to use them as tools and as building blocks to create this company and this outcome that they want. To even be in a position to talk about profit sharing and overseas and abroad kind of trips with your team is an amazing accomplishment. So kudos to the two of you.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. And thanks for your help, obviously, in helping us kind of figure that stuff out and things to implement in our business to help us get there.
I might have to piggyback on the abroad thing late night. What's those things?
Yeah. Well,
I don't think Jenny would mind if I piggybacked on it.
No, I don't think she would. But no. I wanted I think one of the things in sort of answer to your previous question around just we've I think come, and especially Jenny, I think is just originally it was sort of more hyper growth mode, right? Like more clients, studio, those kind of things. And I think there's some recognition over the last, year and a half, 2 years, like, what do we really want, right? Is that what we want? And so I think we've spent some time really evaluating, we'd rather have a small and mighty team that we can really build a strong core. And of course, bring in consultants, coaches, outsource certain activities, versus trying to grow the team, just get more efficient in what we do. And there might be a point in the future where it makes sense for us to do that. But right now we just thought it'd be best to let's develop our our small and mighty team and focus on the right clients at the right price point, and instead of chasing everything. Right. And so I think we've done a great job of implementing that in terms of kind of what our vision is for our team. And then again, that can change in 3 to 5 years based on our own circumstances and where the business is. I remember too, I don't know, I'm assuming you both remember it, but Jenny could have blocked it. Our first coaching meeting that we had, and Jenny, you were frazzled and overwhelmed simply because you had been working without an off switch. Like you had not had a day off. You'd not had a weekend off. You were working all day.
You were working at night and you were working weekends. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first things that you and Ben said to me is, regardless of the money and everything else, Jenny needs time off. Help us find a way to get her a break. And I remember when you guys went on that first, you were going on a weekend vacation, and Ben said in the past that normally you didn't go, but he would go and take the girls, but you went, and I made Ben your handler. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yep, I do.
I said, you are not allowed to look at email or anything. Ben is your handler. It's going to go through Ben. And if he thinks it's important enough to break the family weekend for you to look at it, he'll tell you. Otherwise, you don't get to look at it, because Ben could look at it and put it away and wait till Monday. You were so anxious to make sure that you didn't drop any balls and keep everything going, that you just kept answering you kept pouring out into everybody else.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And one of the first things we did was try to start separating you from that a little bit, but I'll never forget. All right, Ben, I'm going to chat with you on Monday. You're her handler. Nothing. She can't look at it. And you did get some time off that weekend. We knew it was going to be a baby step. But I'm proud of you, because over this last year, I know you've taken some time off, and you had not done that prior to. And you guys have been, I think, to Hawaii, and you've been on some trips. You flew in and out on some of the summer trips that Ben had taken the girls on. You know, your normal summer things. You guys have taken a few weekends here and there. And so it's nice to see that growth. And I mentioned that because sometimes people think that, and Ben kind of hit the nail on the head, a small and mighty team. It doesn't have to be bigger, bigger, bigger. And that's why when we talk about scaling, sometimes it's just that reclaiming of your time and making sure that you, again, are having the life that you want, which means not an hour and a half in the car every day, 45 minutes there and back, being able to take a vacation, being able to have the right people in the right seats in the office so that they can keep things going, so that you can take a step away and let your brain refresh, the same that you would want to do for them. And so you've done a lot of work towards that. And so I celebrate you, because you didn't get a vacation the year before, but you got a little bit of one this year.
I did. Thank you. And we are trying to make that a priority, and I need it. And so we are definitely better about making sure that happens. So thank you.
Yeah. And, again, sometimes it's just easy to think of growth all in the way of the numbers. And it's really about so much more. To me, scaling and growing and doing it with ease is about doing it in a way that allows you to create the lifestyle that you want to live.
Yeah, that's well put.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, well, you guys have done a great job at it. Any other big goals you all have as you're looking forward to the next 1 to 3 years?
I'm sure as I hang up, I'll think of all of them. Ben, can you think of any? I'm sure they're out there.
Well, I think, one of the things that we've talked to Michelle, and this is a goal, it's as we, closed our studio down, we're just working from home. We also want to make sure that we have the proper place to do that. So we are, as we look to, we're planning to build a new home, and we'll build an office space associated with that at the same time, so that we can, provide a nice place to work for obviously our team members, but have it separate from our family as well. So that's sort of our next big goal from a more operation standpoint, but something that's on the horizon for us that we are planning for and working toward.
That's fantastic. Jenny, you also, I want to make sure we give you a plug here. You also teach a course at Luann University.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that course. And I know that it's not open all the time. So there are different quarters that it's open. So we'll put it in the show notes and people can look at it. But I want to make sure you've done a lot of work on that. I know I've even had some in my coaching turn around and go take that course from you while they're coaching and right beside you and then taking the course. They said it was awesome and really kickstarted some things for them. So let's make sure we give you a shout out for that work. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's called Design for Build 101. And my goal in this is to create another revenue stream for designers. So I know from my experience working in the construction industry, you take for granted, and maybe because it was my first job out of school, you take for granted that it's something And I realized, hey, I've got designer friends who are asking me how to do a spec book or how to fill out a finish schedule, or, what order are the builders building in? How, what order do I need to get them this information? And I thought, I guess, what can I do to help people know how to tackle this. I know there's a lot of people who want to get involved in remodels and in new builds and not just do furnishings. And so this is just from step one of how to meet that builder, and how to make that connection to how do you put together a finished schedule? What order are they going to build in so that you know what you need to be selecting and when? What are the proper drawings and elevations that you need to provide for the builder? And it just walks through, it's a 6-week course. It's once a week. And we walk through how to do all of that. And if you follow the homework schedule and you do what you're supposed to throughout that 6 weeks, by the end of the project, you can have a sample spec book made to take in to sit down with a builder. There's so much construction happening right now. And when you're able to get in on a home in the build phase or in the remodel phase, most people aren't bringing their old furniture with them. So you already have a foot in the door to then also do the furniture package, which is always our goal, because that's really where we make our money, is in the markup. And so if we can get in that front door when we're in the construction phase, we have an automatic in to the furniture package, as long as we haven't screwed up in the build and made people mad and, all the things, which we don't at this point, right? Like everything goes smoothly for the most part. I put that in quotes, for what we can, for what we could deliver. But it gets us, and it should get everybody in the door for the furniture. And that's where you want to be when you can do all of it. And then you've got the control. Then when you photograph, it's all your work, right? It's your kitchen design. You've picked everything in there. And then now you've styled it and furnished it. And you kind of have ownership of that whole house. And it's really awesome. It's really a fun thing to have. And so that's why I teach that. And I teach the fall and winter semesters. And I've really enjoyed it and had so much great feedback that it honestly, sometimes brings me almost to tears, because when you read the difference that it's made in someone's life, it really touches you. And you're like, I didn't know that it could be this important to somebody, or, this game changing for someone. So it's been awesome.
That I love it. And that's how I feel about my coaching too. I think when you pour out of yourself into someone else to share and to help them, and then they receive it and they're thankful for it, it does, it changes the way that you actually interact with your work.
Definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'll make sure that we put a link in the show notes to that. So if anybody wants to jump in for the next time you're teaching it, they have the ability to do that. But Jenny and Ben, thank you so much for joining today and just sharing a little bit about your journey, about the husband-wife team, about how, investing in your business has been so important in multiple ways. And then also being able to give back with a great program. So I just really appreciate our time together today.
Thank you, Michelle.
Yes, thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome. You guys have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jenny and Ben, for sharing your business journey with us. I always think it's fun to listen and hear the details of how others have stepped out in courage to build a business based on what they love. And this story highlights that courage. Maybe you've been wanting to step out and get assistance to build the business you also want. If so, take the next step and sign up for a discovery call on my website at scarletthreadconsulting.com. I would love to help you grow your idea of a business into the real thing. Take a chance on you, because profit and sustainable success don't happen by accident. Profit is a Choice is proud to be part of the designnetwork.org, where you can discover more design media reaching creative listeners. Thanks for listening, and stay creative and business minded.